2 dimes and a token. You may well see.
But either way. So now you've now, what made you decide to leave the company we were working at together?
So I was telling Key this a little bit earlier. I was there for about 2 years. My wife was pregnant.
I love how he said Key. Dude, people have been calling him that for years. It's amazing how you just suggested
just pick right up on. I'm with it.
That's what you introduced me to him as. Like,
oh shit,
that's good.
My bad.
It's all right. Nevertheless, I like it.
So,
especially coming from Batman.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, appreciate it. So, wife was pregnant. We were getting ready to have Paisley, our first daughter, and stresses of the job, and we were kind of worn down at that point. She was obviously 9 months pregnant and tired. And, we were having a conversation one day about, what does it look like when we have the baby, long work hours, spending time, that kind of stuff. And I told her kind of off the cuff, kind of half serious. I was like, well, if it becomes a problem, I'll just quit, right? Like, family comes first. Like, I'm not going to pick a job over the family.
Now, but to put in perspective, though, this is a job that once you get to a certain point, like, sure. I know they promise, you can make millions, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, the climb to a 6-figure position.
Sure. I mean, honestly, at that point, I was probably making 50 or 60 grand. Yeah. Which is not, I was a brand new position. I had just gotten a promotion,
But at the time, in that current year, when
you're talking 10, 11 years ago?
Yeah, so
that was good money back then.
That was actually decent.
I was surviving off 30. So he was
because when I was coming out, it was like 35 to 36 was a starting.
Right.
When you came out, that was 2 years before that. It was what, 29 to 31.
Yeah.
So you had doubled in a matter of 2.5 years.
So it was enough of an impact to be a serious conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. So I said that to her. I said, if it comes down to it, like I'll just quit. I'll figure something else out.
That's a bold statement, bro, especially for family. I give you a lot of testimony.
Well, and honestly, I wasn't entirely serious about it. Like, I was just like, we'll see. We'll figure it out when we get there kind of thing, right? So we go down the road, 9 months, the baby's born. 9 months down the road, we've got periods of time where I'm leaving the house before she's awake. I'm coming home after she's already in bed. So, like, I'm not seeing her for periods of time. Yeah. So I came home one day. It was about 9 months after she was born. I came home one day, and I went to pick her up. And she started screaming and flailing and was like, don't touch me, because she didn't know who I was. She didn't know who I was. So I looked at my wife and I said, that's it. I said, we're done. If that happens, then I'm done. So I called the manager the next day and I said, I'm out. I said, 2 weeks. I said, figure it out.
Damn.
That's hard.
So you literally you were like, I'm done. Yep. Like, no question.
Look at your hat.
No plan.
He was a girl dad. That was a boy.
That's it.
He's going to have to man up.
Girl dad.
He's a girl dad.
Hey.
My son going to have to some chest hair. Daddy going to be here in no time.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm creating a future for you.
So now when you make the statement, you now have 2 weeks.
Yep.
And what's going through your mind?
So, we had some money saved up. We had, the ability to kind of go a couple of months until we figured out what the next step was. So I started looking at some stuff, and she had been talking to my mom about, when the baby got to a certain point, about a year old, my mom had been trying to talk Madeline into getting her real estate license. She was like, why don't you get your license? You could do a couple of deals, just kind of supplement some income. And then who knows, maybe it turns into something.
Yeah.
So that was obviously happening prior to us not having a main income source. So whenever I ended up quitting, I was like, well, maybe I'll get my real estate license as well. We'll do it at the same time, and then we'll just kind of run with that, see where it goes.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So I think I quit like the end of September, and we got licensed and started first weekend of December. So a couple of months. So, and then that was it. So my first deal, actually, my cousin called me as we were going through the licensing process. And he was like, hey, are you licensed yet? Because I have a house I want to buy. And I was like, shit, I'm taking the test next week. I said, as soon as I get that, let me hang it with a broker, and then we'll rock and roll. So he did. He gave me a couple of weeks.
Hold on. How many times did it take you to pass the test? Because I've heard it's somewhat difficult.
It is difficult. I passed it on the first time.
Did you?
I did.
What a stud.
That's the athlete name.
No, that's the Batman.
Yeah,
and athlete
that's
name.
the girl dad. Hey, if you had a boy,
Hey, shine.
shine. That's it. That's all it is. Your boy's gonna distract you a little bit.
So we started December, and that was it.
Okay,
Or that was the start, I guess.
that was the start.
So did you guys start off? Obviously, you had, we call it like the first pop. But
Yep.
after that first pop, what was it like going after that? Was it just hitting the ball rolling, or you were like learning as you go? What was that?
So it's
that
kind of
first
interesting, right?
year?
Because I had bits and pieces that I had learned growing up of what real estate was, right? But I didn't get a lot of what the day-to-day real estate business was. So it was an interesting dynamic of taking what I knew, learning the new stuff, and how to actually function in a real estate business, to kind of create where we're at. So I think we did our first deal as soon as we got signed up. It took us probably 3 months to get our next deal done, which I think was Jose's deal actually.
Yeah.
So I think our first year we did like 10 deals, right? So, but we made what, 60 or 70 grand, which was more than we had made it.
You're gonna have to bleep that one out.
You gotta bleep that
out. It's the drink. It's the drink that makes it that comfortable to let it all
Yeah.
out. You guys
So-
are doing,
He's on drink 7.
yeah.
That's 1.5.
Remember, my wife's watching.
So yeah, but I mean that was more than we had made, and then obviously from that point on, we started learning the business, started learning how to create a business, started taking classes and getting into what it meant to be successful at real estate, and we also caught arguably one of the hottest markets in real estate history over the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I mean that was how it started, and it's grown from there.
So how do you, now that you transitioned from 2014, where you were just entering into it, to now 7 years, 8 years later, and out of those 8, 10 of them were throughout your marriage. What was the worst day you can say in real estate for you?
Oh,
We all have our ups and downs.
Oh, you hear that? He's like, oh.
What does it look like to have a bad day as a realtor? Everyone doesn't know what it takes in order to do the job, let alone to persevere through it. So what's the
But also,
worst?
you're like a freelancer. It's almost like a 1099.
Yeah.
Right.
so honestly, the worst day that you can have in real estate most of the time, and we've had a couple of these happen periodically throughout our time, is you'll get, let's say you have 4 or 5 contracts that are on your board, right? Like you have a whiteboard tracking all your stats. And throughout the course of your 8 to 12 hour day, 3 of those deals fall apart for some reason or another, that's a pretty shitty day to go from looking at potentially, $50,000 of commissions on a board to 10 in a matter of 8 hours. And it took you 3 months to put that stuff up there. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. It gets worse when so let's say you have some listings that are under contract, right? The worst would be for those listings to come out of contract, meaning the buyers cancel the contracts, and then the sellers decide to take the house off the market. So not only have you lost a contract, now you've lost a listing. So you've lost that potential for that business. So
What's that like at home? Like, do you and your wife ever bring it home? Like, what's that?
we don't have to bring it home. It's home. Like it's what we talk about on a daily basis.
So there's no off switch from work.
Nope. So that presents its own challenges too, right? Because it's like, we've gone through periods of time where we'll be vacationing or on date nights or hanging out with the kids, and literally all we're talking about is real estate.
But she became your best friend along
For
that
sure.
line. Like, so therefore, it's easy to have that conversation.
Yep.
It's just hard to turn on the romance while you're talking about business all the time.
Right.
So the balance of life.
Right.
How do you?
And that's where that communication thing comes in. It's a constant figuring of as things are added into the equation, how do you constantly balance everything that's going on? You know what I mean?
Well, I tell everyone a relationship is work.
Mhm.
There's no ifs and buts about it. It's I see one of my best friends go through work each and every day. He clocks out from one and then he just puts another hat on.
Yep.
You never take that hat off.
Yep.
So when it's constant work, you understand the assignment.
Mhm.
But does it get tiring? Like, how do you guys go on vacation as a realtor?
It's tough. Like, we were just gone for a week. We went to the Carolinas. My mom was buying a new house up there. honestly one of the most beautiful places I've seen. Like, she literally bought a house on top of a mountain. So, like, the views of this place is ridiculous. But we were there for a week, 8 days. And generally what happens on vacation is it takes a couple of days for me to kind of shut my mind off. But then a couple of days leading up to us going home, I kind of start gearing that back up. So when I get home, I kind of hit the ground running. So there's usually 2 or 3 days in the middle of a vacation where it's actually like relaxing. So that's the trickiest part, is trying to actually shut it down, shut it off, to be able to enjoy the break, to be able to come back refreshed instead of just carrying all that shit with you through the vacation.
Okay, so you talked about the past, you talked about the present, the future. You see your mom, she's done real estate, and now she has a house on the mountain. What's the future for Batman?
Bro, so my goal is to have enough passive income to where I can decide if I want to work on a daily basis or not. And I say that from a couple of different viewpoints. One, from a generational wealth security for my girls' standpoint, right? For the ability for them to see a successful real estate operation, just to see a successful rental portfolio, to kind of understand what passive income is. It's like, hey, I've put this money into this one time, and now on a monthly basis, I'm getting money kicked back to me for really not doing a ton. And then from a second perspective in that same vein, is I want the freedom to be able to go on those vacations. I want the freedom to be able to go to dance recitals and soccer games and gymnastics events and be a present dad. Like, I find myself walking this very fine line between reaching for these uber successes and these, listening to all these Goggins and Andy Frisellas and Ed Milet's and all these guys that are super successful in what they do, and balancing that with raising my kids. You know what I mean? Because I don't ever want to be at a point where my kids don't know who I am because of the job that I'm working.
Bro,
right?
That's a challenging moment. That's
so,
a challenging moment.
And it's a challenging lifestyle because I find myself not being non-committal to one or the other.
But you have to.
But that's what I'm saying, is I'm not willing to sacrifice my girls for the money or for the job or for the passive income. And at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice the potential of what that could do for them growing up and just completely neglect it. You know what I mean? So it's a constant.
You don't have the silver spoon though. Like Tom Brady, I'll give everyone
Sure.
Tom is focused on playing. He's filling up one cup, the cup of fulfillment of my joy, what I bring to the table, what I do.
Yeah.
Because the moment I stop, I have to be a present dad. Mm-hmm. But if you ever hear Tom talk about who his hero is, it's his dad. He will go into tears about that. And I say that to say you can either have one or the other. You can have a present dad that's your hero, or you can be the dad that is everyone else's hero, but to his kids.
I feel like there's a way to mix it too. I don't think it's possible to be like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Right. I don't think that's possible. If you decide that you're going to have kids, number one, I don't know if they have kids, but if you decide that you're going to have kids and then you do have them and then you pursue this type of lifestyle, right, where you're like, hey, not necessarily, I'm not going to call it money hungry, but you're success hungry, right? And when you're in that perspective, you have to balance it, but it's always going to limit the success potential, and it's going to limit the amount of fathering potential that you can have.
But a true father sets the example. Your goals, you set the goals.
Yeah, I think the balance is perfect though. Like, I don't need, and let's be real here, and I'm just going to be, it's going to come ironic because you know me very well. I'm so afraid of being broke. Like, that's my biggest fear. And my other biggest fear is being a horrible parent, right? Being a horrible father. So I find myself in the same predicament constantly. is you want to be successful and you want to provide all these things for your kids and you want to do all this stuff. But in the same context, if I'm constantly focused on being successful all the time, I fail as a father because I don't go out and play basketball with my son, especially after the work hours are done and he'll come hit me up, Dad, let's go play basketball. There are times where I look at him and I'm like, I can't. I got to finish this. And it hurts me. But at the same time, it's like, but I'm doing this for you. You know what I mean?
You're not necessarily,
I think the balance is a perfect echelon. You don't need $200 billion. You don't. Because let's be real. What does one person need $200 billion for? You don't. You really don't. I would give away $150 billion for no reason. Because trust me, your boy can live off of way less than that. Your boy still eats ramen noodles.
that doesn't even make sense. But nevertheless, it's one of those things where you only got one life. Yeah. And I have to show you that I have goals, not just for you, but for me. I have goals to see exactly how high I can climb. Because if you only see me get to a certain level, that's all you've ever seen. Daddy only focused on me to where he put himself on the back burner. You have to show both. We're in a different generation of kids. These kids they don't have to go to work like we do.
They don't play outside.
Listen, most of them want to be just YouTube stars. So when you have that, they don't really value work as work. They don't even want to go to school. And we didn't want to go to school, but we had to. Now it's to a point where they just want everything handed to them. Yeah. So when you have this generation and you are the provider and you're handing everything to them, you're setting them up for failure because the world is gonna hand them anything. No matter what job is out there, no one is just gonna give them anything. So you're the only person that's loving with an open hand. Yeah. Once you leave, there's no more open hand. What you've shown is all they're gonna go after. Yeah. Like, hey, my dad was the top at this. He may not give me any money, but he showed me what I need to do. He set the foundation. Like you said, you came from a family of it. So did I. My dad had 8 houses, sold them all. He was like, I refuse to give them to you guys because all you're going to do is relax and you're never going to achieve what you were meant to achieve. Yeah. So I can't give them anything. I just have to show them what I value and what you should value. Go and get what you want out of life wholeheartedly. Yeah. And I can't stand in the way of that. If I sit down and I'm a present dad, I'm not letting you figure this out for yourself. Every job he went through and every instance he was at, he had to figure it out from college to the first job to the second job to where he's at now. You still have to open the door and figure it out for yourself. I can't show my kids what they're going to do with their life. They have to figure that out. So as a present dad, I'm still coddling them instead of saying, hey, you're going to have to figure this out as well. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to be 100% behind you. If you want to play a sport, I'm going to fund that sport because I'm going to give you the best shot at being the best person that you can possibly be. Yeah. But I have to achieve my goals as well. You got one life to live. They have one life to live. You can't stop at all because then they'll be like, okay, cool. My dad's giving me attention. That's all I need. They have to go conquer. We're meant to be birds, not trees. You're not meant to stay in one spot. You're meant to go see this world before you can't move at all.
Well, so we talk about generational stuff, right? You talk about creating a launching pad for your kids. Like, is your launching pad going to be here or is it going to be here based on what you've done in the examples you set for them? You know what I mean? So it goes back to that same conversation of there's a balance. There's a fine line between going 100% in one direction. And you said it too. Like, I think walking that line and not committing 100% one way or the other, you're never going to be the elite guy, right? You're never going to be the Elon Musk or the Jeff Bezos or Zuckerberg because they have literally sacrificed everything to get where they're at.
Yeah.
So, and it's not fair to say like your 80% is going to be able to compete with someone else's 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's just recognizing that, being okay with that and saying, hey, like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my kids for 100% success. Like, I'm cool with maybe 80% and 80% of my kids' time to create the best possible future, whatever that looks like.
I would tell you the difference is it's 100. If you did it now, then you'll have more time for them later.
Yeah.
But tomorrow isn't promised.
Sure.
So all it is the relationship that you have.
Yep.
I want to make sure that this kid that I brought into this world that didn't ask to be here has an actual relationship with the person that brought him here. Now, on top of that, I want to make sure I have a relationship with my wife. I want a job is nothing but a relationship. Some days you don't want to deal with that. And some days you have no other choice but to deal with it. It's a relationship. All of it is centered around relationships. And I can't pour into one glass. It's only one glass at a time. So if I'm a dad, I'm a dad. If I'm working, I'm working. I'm not trying to wear multiple hats. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And when do you pour into your own glass? Mm-hmm. So I go into that when it comes to you, Batman. When do you pour into your own glass?
That's a great question, man. And I find that a lot of the times I'm putting myself, at least in my own mind, is I'm putting myself on the back burner, right? To make those sacrifices for my kids, my wife, my job, whatever it is. But there are periods of time, like I'm leaving next week to go on a hunting trip in Idaho for a week. Okay. You know what I mean? So there's I play golf occasionally. The days of going out and staying at the bar all night, those are kind of gone.
They're gone.
and honestly, I'm glad because that doesn't produce anything. So
no,
that's fine.
It really just ends up with shit you don't remember.
Right.
I'm just gonna go to sleep.
Right.
I'm good.
You just hear stories. Yeah.
But I think it's finding ways to be more intentional about those moments and building those things in, to be able to make sure you're pouring into your cup, because you can't pour out of an empty cup.
You know what's great though? When you go out to the bar and you're with your boy,
just
yeah. I'm about to throw Keon on the bus. When you go out to the bar with your boy, and my man takes one drink and he passes out.
That's
So
this
is an awesome story. This is great. So we were in college at the time, right? And we decided we didn't even go out to a bar. We went to Chili's, bro. Chili's, right? So we roll up. Everyone's like, "Hey, what are we gonna order?" So we're gonna order them Long Island iced teas. They make them good, right? Yep. Remember they got the blue ones and all that bullshit, right? So, so when we go in there, my boy drank half of one. My fellow Don.
Yes.
Right? And then fell asleep.
Yes, 0 tolerance for alcohol. I'm not mad about that. I'm a cheap date. It's all right.
No,
all right.
He fell asleep at the fucking table.
It's okay. It's a perfect.
And then after he fell asleep, right? No, excuse me. He fell asleep at the table. We ordered our food. Everybody orders dinner. My man orders the fudge sundae
dessert
volcano.
first. Dessert
Chocolate
first.
mold cake.
Yeah.
The chocolate mold.
Dessert first.
Yeah.
Dessert
You
first.
guys
Gotcha.
know what
Dessert
it's
first.
called.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's how you know you've been there too many times.
Yeah. Dessert first.
So he orders the chocolate molten cake, right?
And I eat all your food.
My man immediately, he said, "Yeah, ma'am, I'm going to have this chocolate molten cake." Passes out at the table. We're all sitting there bullshitting. It was me, Chris won. Was Rico there?
I think it was.
Rico might have been there. DJ might have been there. We're doing a bunch of dudes there, right? We're all chilling. It takes like 45 minutes for us to get right before the food gets there. I turn around to everybody. I said, "Hey, you guys realize that Keon's been sleeping for 45 minutes in the booth?" Yeah. Yeah, this is what he does.
Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
You're the only one that has a hard time accepting that. I'm going to sleep.
Dude,
It's
Jesus Christ. I mean, at least like balls drop.
Yeah.
So, all right, that was disrespectful. I'm sorry. I'm going to retract that.
It's okay. I'm okay.
But anyway,
I'm secure on my match.
Here's the best part of the story, right? We get there and what is it called?
The chocolate molten lava
The
cake?
chocolate molten lava.
I'm sad I know that exactly.
I'm loving it. Yeah,
So it shows up. My man spries up, and I'm talking like whips up like a fucking kid when it's 6 a.m.
Yes.
I'm ready to play, right? Swerves down this whole fucking thing.
It was
this
amazing.
entire dessert. The rest of us are eating actual food while it's fast food.
It's still garbage.
Yeah, quesadillas, all this bullshit. Next thing you know, this dude's like, "Oh man, that was delicious."
Right back to sleep. It's all right. It's all right.
Right back to sleep.
You gonna let them know that I took another sip of that drink and then I went back to sleep. I didn't just go to sleep off the first sip.
By the end of the night, when we were actually leaving, we had to pull him out of the booth.
It was 2 for 1. Just remember that. It's always 2 for 1.
Yeah,
I
drank the second half of your first one.
You did.
Your second one.
Now I thought about that. You really did. You really did. I wasn't gonna finish that. Just that.
Hey.
It was my worst moment. I can tell you that.
It wasn't the worst moment, but I'll be honest. I had respect for it.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? The best part about this is I used to go out, remember, buy an 18-pack. Okay, got to do this. We'll pregame, blah, blah, blah. My man could go out and buy the single 36. Or
Yeah.
it was a 32. 32, because they don't sell that in Florida. 32 ounce. He takes 4 sips.
I'm there.
Passed out. And then we get to where we're going. Man, I'm having a great time.
You gotta look at it like back in the day, they had these things called Four Locos. I know they're still out here. Those were, death in the can.
God.
No, there's no ifs and buts about it. So you think like, oh, okay, Keon, you can't drink. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with alcohol. Me not being able to drink.
Right.
These aren't meant for me. That's all it is. And you have these things called Four Loko. So the reason why me and Brooke became close, because I never could finish.
Besides the fact that he saved my ass from getting arrested the 4th time.
Yeah. Besides that, whenever we went out drinking, he was the only one drinking. I had one drink, he had the rest. There was no need for us to keep going along those lines. He never got drunk. And he was the perfect drunk driver. Hey, any cops, anything like, don't listen to that.
Whoa, hold up. We need to back that up.
The
What?
perfect drunk driver.
I don't want anybody to know that I can chug.
Listen, every car that goes by is a cop car. So he's 10 and 2 the whole time. Like, yeah, it's a cop. It'd be a semi. It's a cop car, Keon. You got to be locked in. 10 and 2. That's how he gets when he's drunk.
Pep talk the whole way.
Meanwhile, I'm knocked out asleep. So it's always the best time. All I know is we got home.
The worst part is I recited Goggins all the way home. Like, hey, don't be a bitch to yourself. All right. You can do this. All right. Run through lava. Period. End of story.
But the difference is whenever he's not with me, he's stuck in a ditch or he's doing something that, it's just, how did you get there?
Right.
If I'm in the car, he's like, I got to make
Hold on. We need to put a disclaimer on this because this was years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I am older. I don't do that shit.
That was college.
That was college. It was college. We'll have a pod about that one day, but not now.
I'm just letting you know, it's that point. So if I know my tolerance.
Right.
I'm not driving into a ditch.
Right.
Him on the other hand, I gotta push the limit. Let me get 4 of those Four Locos. See how far I can go.
It's just a small ditch.
It's just a small ditch. I would tell you.
Listen, I just fucked the car up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little
Wasn't
bit.
that bad?
Just a little bit. Not
On another perspective, though, I would like to point this out. There's only been my cars have been crashed. Which, by the way, if you watched episode 1, please watch episode 1, just for the fact that my brother destroyed my first car.
Yeah, I destroyed the second one. Was it?
And Keon crashed the second car that I drove, which was bullshit.
Batman.
He called me up. All right, so I used to let Keon borrow my car all the time, right, when we were in college, and he would call me up every fucking time, and he would be like, "Hey man, I hit this," and I'd be like, "Bro, are you fucking serious?" He'd be like, "No, bro, I'm on the way back." Right? I'd be like, "Bro, why are you doing this to me? This is disrespectful as shit." And then one day he hits me up, right, and he goes, "Hey man, I crashed the car." And I said, "Bro, all right, I'm not playing this game no more. Like, fuck you, quit fucking around." He's like, "Bro, I'm serious as shit. Like, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Dude, why?" And I said, "Bro, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "Bro, I crashed the car. Why else would I call you and tell you this?" I said, "You do this shit all the time." Straight up. He goes, I know that, but this time it's real, bro."
This is a serious encounter. Now, I'm going to tell you his car stalled.
I had a 96 Taurus when I was in college.
The worst car I would never get.
Fuck you, bro. That car was badass, dude. That car was fucking sweet. Not only did my brother ruin the magnificent, I'm going back to the other ones. My brother ruined the magnificent pimp mobile that I had. Once again, I'm going to look at the camera right now and say,
never go to
"Honeys,
Pimp My Ride."
Listen,
Never made no Pimp
the
My Ride.
next car that I got with my money,
Yes.
right? Bought it and everything. Keon rear-ended somebody. It wasn't, but all right. So it had a little thing with it. Yeah.
Tell him what's wrong with the car. If I tell him, it's gonna sound.
Sometimes when you were driving straight, the shit would just shut off.
yeah, shut off completely. I'm going down the hill.
Yeah, he's going down the hill.
You
and
press the
sometimes
gas.
it would just,
Not
it would
going
just shut
fast.
off for no reason.
You press the brakes, it's not stopping. Nothing can stop it, and then eventually it'll catch.
Right.
Yeah,
And you're good. I'm going down the hill, and it's this old lady. She's going so slow,
bro.
and she's on the turn like.
Yeah.
All right, you know the worst part of this story though. Yes, he did crash the car, and it wasn't that bad though. I'm not giving a bunch of bullshit. I drove it for another 2 years.
Yeah,
So it wasn't like Chris, which I love our token, but that shit really pissed me off, and I'm still salty to this day.
I don't know why.
But-
it was a piece of shit car.
Dude, all right, we're not gonna get into that.
It
All
was
right,
an 87
bro,
in 2005. Like,
what the fuck? All right. First of all, your
18-year-old car.
disrespect is not warranted right now.
18.
Secondly,
18.
secondly, here's the worst part of the story, right? So, yes, it was an elderly lady. No disrespect, right? None whatsoever. I think old people are fantastic to drink with, and I think old people are phenomenal to sit and talk to.
Yes.
They got amazing stories, and they have amazing things to teach you,
Yes.
right? But I will say this. It was on a road that was a 5-lane road. The middle lane was a turning lane for both lanes.
Mhm.
So there was 2 on each side.
Mhm.
Directly across the street from where you guys bumped into each other. It wasn't even that bad,
Mhm.
right?
Speak for yourself. I bit the steering wheel. That hurt.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
You see my teeth in the steering wheel.
The only thing that was broken on my car was the headlight. And it was just a crack. It wasn't like it still worked. Like
Right.
that's how soft it hit.
So what's the fucking problem?
The problem was she called an ambulance.
The hospital was across the street.
The hospital pulled out of the driveway into the middle of the road, directly across the street. Drove out of the driveway, reversed out of the driveway. That's how close they were. Reversed out of the driveway, put her on a little, the bed thing.
Right.
Put her in the back, and then drove her back into the fucking driveway.
It was trash.
What? I could have walked you there.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Across
I'd have
the
held your
street.
hand. I'd have carried your ass there.
She
What the
called
fuck
that
are we talking about? That shit pissed me off.
I was excited about it. See, look, that's the cheat code to life. Just pretend like you're hurt, no matter what the cause. I mean, across
You
the
said
street.
pretend like you're hurt. That's terrible.
Yes,
So-
I mean that's what she did.
All right. So now,
As he's pouring this,
as I pour
What are you
this
drinking
amazing Terramana tequila,
that's at least the second pour, third drink.
100%.
I'm still in the first.
we interrupt this episode to bring you Joe's Backyard Barbecue, a delicious, amazing, gourmet type backyard barbecue meal with the most amazing service and the most amazing person that you can have at the helm, cooking those amazing ribs, the amazing brisket, and all the wonderful spices and barbecue sauce that you can imagine. So if you're in the Lake Worth, Florida area, make sure you go and see your boy Joe at Joe's Backyard Barbecue. And now back to the episode.
Just throwing it out there.
As we all have talked about, we understand why Keon's on his first one.
Yeah, I know.
Right
I'm not
after
mad
this
about that.
pod, we all know he's going to go to sleep right here in this
Yeah, exactly.
room. So now you are where you are. So what businesses, obviously you're still a realtor, right?
Yep.
And you run very successful business.
Yep.
Right? Doing very well for yourself. Congratulations.
There's always room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement, right? But what would you say is the number one thing you would try to tell someone if someone came to you and said, "Hey, man, how can I be successful?" What's that? What are you going to tell them?
Biggest things I would tell them is mastering discipline and consistency, because motivation is fleeting, right? Motivation comes and goes, and it's not always there. But mastering the daily bullshit that you don't want to do until you do, and what I mean by that is getting up early, eating right, going to the gym, doing your work, making your phone calls, doing all the shit that is monotonous, right? From what I've seen and what I've learned and experiences that I've had, the guys that are the most successful are the guys that are able to master all of that monotonous shit. So that would be my number one. And number two would just be find something you fucking enjoy doing
Really?
and just do that. Like,
So-
find
I mean, that's why it's called a job, though. You're not supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to be
no
work.
No, that's
right?
a job. Are you looking for a job or a career
Got you.
or a lifestyle or what's the long term goal? I mean, anybody can go to fast food joint or go work at a department store or something like that. I mean, that's a job. That's paying bills.
Let's be
Right.
real though. If that's something they enjoy,
Sure. And maybe that's that person that starts as a cashier and works their way up to being a general manager or something.
yeah,
I mean, whatever that is. But the same principles apply for each job. Is consistency and discipline across whatever enterprise it is.
Okay, I got you. So where do you hope that you can take this 20 years from now? Because obviously, how old are your girls, if you don't mind me asking?
8 and 6.
8 and 6. Dude, I got an 8 and a 9-year-old. Jesus Christ, we're getting old. So, hey, you remember? Ironically, you were. Oh man, you remember when Avery was born?
Vaguely.
Someone, our supervisor at the time, I couldn't leave.
Oh yeah,
you remember that? So I missed my daughter being born. Oh, I'm saying this on the podcast. This is fucking terrible.
It's okay.
I sound like a horrible father.
It's all right.
This is part of the work-life balance thing that we're talking about.
Yep.
I missed my daughter being born by 10 minutes. I remember I kept telling him, I gotta go. It's gonna happen. And he was like, no, you can't, man. You can't. Finally, he said, all right, gotta go. So I left. And it was an hour because I was working in Lakeland at the time. And my daughter was born in Sebring.
Don't say that out loud. No. Nothing.
Who do you say that?
Nothing lives in Sebring. Everything goes to.
Listen, we're still trying to captivate audience. And
they retired.
So.
It's a
they
retired.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Hopefully we get some 90-year-old dudes that really like this podcast. but I remember I walked in and I was hitting the button and they were like, "Who are you?" And then her grandmother, Tina, who I love to death. Tina and Peter, you guys are fantastic.
Amazing.
I love you guys. Came running out to the door and was like, "He's the father. Let him in." Right. And so basically kicked open the damn door for me. And I walked in and Avery was sitting there. And it was wild, dude. That was a wild experience. I remember sitting there and looking at her. And I was like, bruh, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Right. And they were like, "Hey, you should hold her." And I was like, "Nope." Right. And they were like, "Hey, you should just put your hand in there." I was like, "Nope." Right. I was like, "I'm not doing this. This is not part of my plan." I had a job lined up where I wasn't going to be working with you at any point in time. I was going to be working in football. I was going to be doing my passion, my love, all that stuff. And it took me, I think it was 3 days. 3 days. And I finally held her. And I was just like, I hit Barney Stinson. "You are everything in my life." Right? Everything I have.
That's how Batman
And everything I do
Yep.
is yours. Like, that was it, bro. It was wild. It was a wild experience, bro. It was the scariest and like most challenging thing. And I'll even tell this story. I probably shouldn't get so detailed, but I'll be honest. Peter, who I love to death, he's literally my second dad, right?
Probably your first.
Fucking love this. I'm not gonna shit on him that much, but he's my second dad. I love this dude. He had it was a second day, and he kind of pulled me aside and he was like, "Hey man, you're gonna have to sack up at some point." And I was like, "Hey man," he's like, "Listen, I don't want to hear your words right now because you have an obligation. You have a responsibility. This little girl is depending on you. Like, you have, everybody says 18 years. No, you have a lifetime now. You made this decision. You did this. You need to figure your shit out. You need to take 20, 30 minutes, whatever the fuck it is you got to do. And you need to come back in here and be prepared to do this job." And I was like, "You're right." I said, "Oh, fuck. Oh, damn. All right. Way to punch me in the face without punching me in the face."
Yeah.
Dude, and I love the guy. I love the guy because that is how Peter is. Peter is the type of dude where, hey, there's a job that's got to be done. Doesn't matter. Whatever you do, just do it. It is what it is. So on the third day,
Do it right, do it light, right?
yes, do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long. And
You're
I
doing it
remember
wrong.
I came back in. What?
You're doing it wrong, then. This is a long.
All right, listen to me. Fuck you, man. I swear to God, all he does is talk shit to me. But I came back in the third day, and I picked her up and I held her, and it changed everything about my perspective. It changed my personality. It changed everything. So it was a wild experience that day. That was, whew, damn, girl dad.
I mean, that says a lot. Now we came here to talk about Batman, and I wanted to go right back to him in this regard. Like, what would the older you say to the younger you now?
Oh shit!
In 2011, when you already proposed to your wife in the first 3 hours of the date, what would you say to him?
My man said the first 3 hours of the day.
That really was. That really was. It wasn't. I watched shows longer than
Listen, he met her and he knew she's the one.
she's the one.
Man, honestly, it would be a lot of what we've already echoed today was really engaging in falling in love with the process, right? Falling in love with the journey and not being so focused on the outcome or the goal. You know, I think as athletes especially, we always have kind of that long-term pro sports goal, right? Like everybody that plays at a college level or beyond, like pro sports is kind of the thing. But I think the reason that so many people miss that is because that's the goal. Like it's not the 5 a.m. workout and then going to class and succeeding and then going to practice and succeeding and then succeeding in the games and having a step-by-step process that builds the foundation to that. So I think if I could go back and say something to a younger me at some point playing sports or starting off in a career, it would be really embracing that journey and embracing those monotonous moments, those moments that, you know, of suck or of hard work or of discipline, and saying, you know, hey, those are going to be the foundations and the building blocks to the success that you're actually looking for and actually working towards.
Okay, I mean that's a little light on it. Now tell me, what would you have done different?
All of those things.
He said pretty much when I started, I was a lazy
told my
piece
wife,
of shit.
I told my wife this the other day. Like I was a guy that was 6'4". I would topped out at like 88 to 89 miles an hour, which is not. It's good college, but it's not great pro. Like most
we're
guys
knocking that out the ball.
You know what I mean? Most pro guys now are 90, 93 to 96 as a starting pitcher. But in that same breath, like I didn't do the work in the weight room or the work on my mechanics or the work on tweaking techniques and stuff to be able to gain those miles an hour or to be able to better my craft. You know, I tell my wife all the time. I tell my wife, and I say that I tell my wife all these things because we spend 24 hours a day together. So that's who I talk to on a normal basis.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I give you that. I talk to me. Go ahead.
But so I was telling her
talk to me.
Honestly, I think what happened to me or what I was guilty of is that my 80% was always a lot better than most people's 100% or most other people's 80%, right? So that got me to a certain point, but that was as far as it got me. It's that other 20% was the difference of the additional workouts, the additional tweaking of the techniques and the mechanics and that extra work and that extra discipline that wasn't frankly put in. I mean, I worked hard. I spent some extra time, but if I'm honest and I'm looking back, there was a lot of gaps in what I could have done to be better than I was. So, you know, I don't have any regrets, obviously, because I'm where I'm at. But if there was something I could say, it would be that. Basically fill in the gaps.
Would you instill that, you know, as us three dads, we all have passion for our kids. Would you instill that in your kids? When you see your daughter, you know, playing soccer and you say, if you give it a little bit more effort.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's honestly a great question. And the reason I'm even interrupting because I would love for you to run with that question, but at the same time, it's so difficult when you're trying to drive that. But at the same time, when you drive that into a small child, they get very, I'm not going to do that. Or
you take away the joy.
You take away the joy, right? So do you have an opinion as far as like time frame of when you apply to it, or do you apply it to them now? Or like,
I think it depends, man. I think it also depends on.
We're some serious parenting questions right now.
I think it also depends on the level of interest, the level of joy that kid has in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I'm being honest, when I got to college and played ball, and you guys may be able to attest to this, like it became a business. Like it wasn't fun anymore. Like it was the occasional games were fun and the excitement and that exhilaration was cool.
Yeah.
But like the day-to-day shit was a business.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're talking morning workouts, class, afternoon workouts, and then potentially games. Like it's a long ass day.
Yeah.
So that wore on me, and that's where I go back to is like, was football the option? Maybe was that a better option, or maybe was it something different entirely? I don't know. But I think to answer the question is it kind of depends. I think you give them nuggets, you give them tidbits, you pour out of your glass, and as we grow and mature and figure these things out, pouring those things into our kids at an earlier age so that they maybe it sits in their subconscious, maybe it sits in the back of their mind, so that when they need to pull from it, they have the ability to. You know what I mean? So
I feel you.
I don't, and this is the only reason why I say, because their success meter is up to your expectation. So if I didn't make daddy happy with what I was doing,
Sure.
all kids want to do is make you happy,
Sure.
impress you, get that attention from you.
Sure.
So if you're never satisfied with what they're putting out, they're going to continue to push the envelope. So that being said, how do you stop? How do you make sure they enjoy life, but at the same time exceed?
So
You
I
can
think
only
it's
have
that-
one or the other.
It's that focus on the process, right? It's not the focus on the result. Because like Paisley, my oldest one, played soccer for the first time this year. And from when she started to when she finished, massively different in how comfortable she was playing and her skill level throughout the course of the season. It was still very rough, right? 8-year-olds playing soccer is very, very elementary. And I caught myself sometimes feeling a sense of disappointment if they would lose, but I was happy in the fact that I would quickly snap out of that and be like, well, how did she play? How did she feel? And I would ask her about it after the game. It's like, how did you feel you did? And she would play defense, or she would play goalie, or play striker. And she honestly excelled at defender more than any of the other positions. So I got kind of a consistency from her of when she was playing defense, she was excited. She was like, I blasted that ball out of here. I knocked this kid over, like whatever it was. And she was like, but I let this goal go by and I didn't stop this one. And I was like, that's all right. Like you haven't practiced that. You haven't been there. So from a parent's perspective, I think it's focusing on, what did they do well? How do we put them in a position to do that moving forward more times? And then the times that they didn't succeed or they failed, not beating them over the head about it, but just saying, hey, here's an opportunity that we can improve on. And is that going to be applicable to the position you're going to be playing? And again, that goes back to the process thing, and not like, hey, you guys lost, you suck, like we're never playing soccer again. Damn. And I think that will teach her as she grows up. The result is not necessarily the focus. And as she grows and matures, I think what I'm hopeful she will learn is that doing the little things right and focusing on the process to get a little bit better at hand positioning or where she's kicking the ball will translate into further successes. You
know what I think really is a lesson, and some people may disagree with me, but I'm going to be honest, I don't give a fuck. If I really press into my kids, failure is something that you need to have. You have to fail, right? And again, if you don't agree with me, I don't care. But at the same time, like my daughter is a perfectionist. She's like me. If you fail at something, you are a failure. You suck. And she embodies it in her mind, in her body. And it's just, she's so disappointed in herself. And it's just terrible, right? So I have to pull her aside and have to be like, and literally whenever we do, because she's in softball and she's in flag football right now. And mind you, she trucked a little kid in flag football last year. It was dope. Hey, it was dope as shit.
The hit of the year.
Hey, yeah, it was a hit of the year. And the referees had to come pull her aside and be like, hey, no, you can't do that. I'd be like, sweetheart, it's not like what we do at our house. You can't do that here. Right? But every time something goes wrong, she drops a pass. The whole day's ruined. Right? So I had to pull her aside and I had to be like, hey, you gotta pull it out. And the example that I give her all the time is trying to be a police officer, right? This is because kids recognize being a police officer or a veterinarian or whatever, right? I say, you want to be a police officer. That's what you want to be. And she said, yeah, I want to be a police officer one day. It's like, all right, cool. So there's 10 steps to being a police officer. Every single step, you're going to fail 10 times. So how many times are you going to fail on the first step? She goes, 10. Okay. How many times are you going to fail on the second step? She said 10. So I go all the way through, right? So add them all up. How many times are you going to fail? She said, well, I'm going to fail 100 times. You're going to fail 100 times to finally be what you want to be. Why are you mad about failing? That is the next step. All right, I know how to fix this. I know not to do this next time. Failure is invited because now you know what not to do. Now you can progress. You can move forward. You can do the things that you need to do in order to be successful. Failure is a requirement. It doesn't matter. And I've told this story so many times. I have failed a million times. I have been broke a million times. I have failed in football a million times, right? But now you push forward, and I've only succeeded 15, 20 times, but I failed 1,000.
So I think failure may be a misconception, though, right? Because
it's a learning process.
Failure is when you stop.
Yeah, well,
right?
I think it depends on the person and the evaluation. But yes, I get where you're going.
Oh, if I have a test, I get an F. I failed. There is no. I mean, the test is over with.
Yeah, so you failed that test, right? But you're gonna have to take that test again, right? You're gonna have to redo that test or redo that class or whatever it is. So you take it from yes, you are going to maybe not succeed at tasks or certain things, right? But from an overall macro perspective, I think failure is the idea of quitting or stopping or not pursuing something, right? So it's not like you're going to stop that class, right? You're going to take the next test. Hopefully you do better. You're going to pass that. And then you've passed the class. You succeeded. So that one, call it a failure, call it a lesson or whatever, the test that you didn't pass, right? That I would say that's not a failure. I would say that's a lesson along the way to succeeding.
That's the poster, though, I have in Writer's Room. Remember? You've seen it. I showed it to you, I think, once or twice. I got to show it to you before you leave today. But it says, you've never failed in your life. You've just learned.
Yeah.
That's the idea, right? Yeah. So it's a similar concept. I just use a different verbiage. I know the verbiage sounds a little bit more direct when I say it because it's like, hey, you failed. But hey, you're a piece of shit. But at the same time, like, it's the same concept. You are not going to succeed. You are not going to win 100% of the time. You are only going to win 20 to 30% of the time. Once you overcome those adversities, all those many adversities that you're going to go through as a kid in sports or as a kid in school, or when you start out to be a successful business owner or whatever it is that you're going to do, you are going to fail. Excuse me. You're going to learn 60 to 80% of the time. And then once you've mastered those things, then you start to win majority of the time. And even then, even when you get to that point, it may not even be majority. It may be half. You know what I mean? So I think that's the ultimate lesson that I try to teach them. Because once you hit that success level, you do get to move forward, right? And you may not succeed 20 or 30 times. But once you hit it, now you know how to get there. And then you can move on to the next.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I believe I'm gonna go back, take a step in the rewind category. Batman succeeded at the first thing that he did was to lock down the person that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with.
Let's be real. No, my man failed the first time.
No.
He was the third call.
listen to me.
I'm sorry, Batman. I love you, bro.
He succeeded.
Yeah,
and I tell everyone, success is
a third call.
Is not sustainable. Eventually, you're going to fail at this. There's only certain things that you can continue to hold the mantle. That's the reason why people wear red rings. Is because I'm still succeeding at this. It's just a life marathon.
Yeah,
you can lose that person at any time, and now you're no longer successful in the relationship.
Yeah.
So as he succeeded at that one aspect of picking somebody out of a billion people in the world, he knew in the first 3 hours he wanted to be with that person. I need to have his eyesight at something. I don't know.
No, Keon, you just need to meet that person.
The devil is lying.
Anyway. Yo, so on a real talk though, so we have to start wrapping it up, but legit, honestly, I think amazing points. Amazing, dude.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Dude, no, you are the man. You are the man. By the way, every time, like, I think I said it earlier in the pod, but I'm gonna say it right now. Like, every time I walk into a room, like, I know I'm an alpha, and then if I see him across the room, I'm like, oh damn, I'm not shit.
He's 6'4".
So this is the type of guy we're sitting with today. He is an amazing character. He's also an amazing business person. And when I say amazing, I'm not talking about just skilled in his craft. I'm talking about an amazing moral human being. And I'm gonna leave you guys with an amazing story about this guy one time. So I was he might know where I'm going with this. I was working at our job that we bleeped out earlier.
Yeah.
Because my boy said it.
Yes.
And I was broke as a joke, and I was just trying to figure things out. And I had Ryder was 2 months old. I think Avery was a year and 2 months, because they're literally a year and 6 days apart, something like that. A year and 10 days apart. Excuse me. Damn, I look like a bad dad now.
No, it's all right.
Irish twins. I'm in the back of our office, and I'm searching through something that I can't say what it is, otherwise everyone know where we worked. And
like he has no.
My man rolls up. No lie, and he hands me an envelope, and he's like, "Hey man, me and Madeline wanted to bless this to you." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Just open it after you leave work." And I said, "Okay." So we get to the end of the day. I'm driving home, and I pull it open, and I pull it open when I'm driving. And no shit, while I'm driving, I had to pull off the road. No lie. This dude, because of the situation I was in, it was a very dire situation. And this dude gave me a check for money. I'm not going to say how much, but he did that out of the goodness. And mind you, I want to emphasize this. We had a great relationship, but at the same time, like, Batman and I don't get to speak every day. He's doing his thing and I'm doing my thing. And
he speaks to his wife every day.
Huh?
He speaks to his wife every day.
Yeah, he speaks to his wife every day. But at the same time, though, we forged a relationship where we both knew, he knew where I stand morally. And we've talked about the loyalty thing. And he gave that to me as a gift to try and help me get back on my feet. And that single gift put me in a a much better leveraged position for me to be able to take care of my family and to help. And it was an amazing gift. He did that out of nowhere. And I probably hadn't talked to him in like 45, 60 days at that time. So once again, I love you, dude. I love you.
Love you too, bro.
That was an amazing
thing. Do you remember what I told you when I gave that to you?
I passed it forward.
My man.
I passed it forward twicefold, because that was the rule he gave to me. He gave to me, he said, "Hey, if I'm going to give this to you, but you have to pass it forward one day when you got it." And I said, "Okay." And it was actually 3 different times, same ideal, same amount, everything. I passed it forward 3 different times now. And every single time I found that I was blessed with a gift of happiness and joy, like what Chris talked about in our first pod, right? The addiction for 15 plus years, he felt joy in everything that he did. And giving that away, nothing beats that. Nothing at all. Because you were able to help somebody and you were able to be a support, and not even as a show-off thing. That's why I don't want to say the amount. But it was a point of, hey, I'm here for you, and I'm your friend, and I want to help you. And that was badass. That was cool shit. So, as I'm getting ready to cry right here in my seat. But we're going to sign off. We're going to sign off today. Once again, I love you, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. I really appreciate you. Keon,
likewise.
Hit me with the sign off.
Man, I'm just telling you, from my couch, from this couch to yours, or the palm of your hand, whatever you're looking at us on, I appreciate the time. And thank you for tuning in with Big Batman here. I'm not Robin, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to be next to him.
I mean, you're black, though.
Yeah, I've never seen a Black Robin.
Batman, you got to sign off for today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you're doing. You don't know who you're going to touch through that screen or through this podcast, so keep doing what you're doing. Keep talking the good word, and you'll reach the right person.
Fantastic. And, guys, again, thank you so much. I want to encourage you, number one, comment. Please leave comments. We want to hear some of the things that you guys want to talk about. We want to hear some subjects. Because we have a huge network of people that we can bring on to try and lead into those questions that you guys have, or just anything. Even if you guys want to talk shit, that's cool too. We can always learn, baby. You know what I'm saying? But above all else, as we sign off to the last one, whatever you do, be riding, stay vibing, and keep shining. My dogs.
2 dimes and a token. You may well see.